Acceptance is ecstatic joy. Yes, exactly. Acceptance is ecstatic joy. Why? Because true acceptance is not to remain with what is. It's not to be with what is, although that can be an entrance point. But it's not to remain with what is. It is actually to let go of what is. And you cannot fully let go of what is if you keep running away from what is. So in that sense, to be with what is for 2 to 5 seconds, and to realize that you don't have to be afraid of feelings and thoughts and emotions and circumstance. To be with what is for a moment is very valuable because it reveals your indestructibility, your freedom. But then when you realize your freedom, that allows you to let go of the tight focus of what is present right now, and allows you to embrace a greater frequency expansion of your consciousness, which includes imagination, which includes desire, which includes passion, which includes intuitiveness, which includes creativity. So that you realize you're not a physical being in a physical world and it is what it is. You realize that through 2 to 5 seconds of letting be what is, that it's actually whatever you say it is. So if acceptance doesn't quite quickly expand into this greater ecstatic joy or freedom from what is, then it's not true acceptance. It's just tolerance. It's just a practice. It's just a spiritual or non-dual idea. So there's the difference. Yes, you can use it as a gateway to be present with what is, but I see so many people like making that into its own dogma and like trying to stay with what is, stay with what is, stay with what is. And consciousness doesn't operate that way. It doesn't desire to operate that way. It desires to expand itself, to move on very quickly. It wants to move and accelerate and change and expand all the time and transform. So when we stay with what is, it's like trying to hold down this air balloon that just wants to take off. It's like, we're using so much strength. And so even like trying to be at peace with what is can create its own tension and its own sickness and its own crystallization of non-flow. So it's important to, yes, acknowledge what is, be honest about what is, but then very quickly as you find peace with what is, to let go of what is, allow your gaze to move on, to look further, to recreate reality, to ask yourself, what is my desire? What am I passionate about that may not be physically manifest yet? And then to be in that state of what may not be physically manifest yet that I truly desire, without including the idea, oh, it's not already here, without creating that tension of, okay, I have a desire, but now I feel it's lacking right here. Realize that that is passion filtered through an idea of lack can possibly occur to me if this does not instantaneously physically appear to me. And then remember also that every reality is parallel to another reality. There's infinite parallel realities. And the path that you experience, in other words, the crystallization, the reality, the manifestation you experience, the path you are on is actually dictated by your journey. And again, your journey is your vibrational attitude toward every single moment of your path, to every single moment of your circumstance. So to be in that state of independence is to be happy, to achieve the happiness that's free from all that is. And then you can recreate. Then you can let your passions flow. Then you can move on without turning it into this idea of running away from what is. You simply start to recreate what is courageously and freely, and not with a stress about it of trying to compensate for the perception that you are lacking right now, but simply out of a joyous state of wanting to be in your imaginative, creative, passionate, intuitive self. And so here's the thing. When you choose your imagination as your playground, when you choose to open up your consciousness to that non-physical realm of your consciousness, which is 99.999999999% of your whole being. In other words, if you rekindle the fire of being a child, being that imaginative kid that's just happy and excited about creating and all the potential that life holds, then you are literally changing your circumstance. Because, yes, intuition, imagination is also circumstance. It's also circumstantial to your state of being. So it's literally like changing your reality. When you stop focusing so much on the physical or what is, those peace junkies, those non-dual junkie teachings that force you to be with what is and never experience anything joyful. And if you let go of that, if you break that spell, if you break that nonsense, and you just wake up to your imagination, to your creative potential, to this spaciousness in your consciousness that includes all possible realms, all possible dimensions, all possible planets, all possible civilizations, all possible juicy realities that are not by any means logical, practical, realistic in any way, according to our society. But what happens when you open up to that, and that becomes more and more your experience, and you start to validate your imagination as being equally real to your physical imagination, which is still imagination, then you become a whole being. Then you have access to your whole being. More and more you open up to that. But if you keep devalidating, if you keep not appreciating or putting down this idea of creative imagination, this non-physical, what doesn't seem to be here yet, attention to yourself, if you keep putting that down, what literally happens is you put a dam in your flow, in your way. You're not flowing because you're generating this idea of stuckness. And you're excluding 99.9999999% of your being. And that's not healthy. It creates obstacles, it creates energetic patterns that are simply not in alignment. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Not that you're not a free spirit, not that it destroys you, not that it harms you, not that it creates lack. It still creates an abundance of that energy, whatever that energy may be. It's just not pleasant. It doesn't jive well with your system. It doesn't feel like it's in alignment. It doesn't give you access to an amazing potential life, an amazing creative life. So, yes, achieve happiness, the happiness that's not dependent on your dreams and desires, but that's realized to be a choice in the moment, in every moment, independent from circumstance, dreams, desires, thoughts, preferences, etc. Yes, very important. And allow your bliss to manifest physically by spending more time, by validating more and more that your attention can also be in the non-physical side of yourself. You can daydream when you're here. That doesn't mean you're not present. Your daydream happens right now. It's completely present. It's not up to you whether something is present or not. You are always already present. Everything is always already accepted, otherwise it wouldn't exist. Everything is always already allowed by existence in existence as existence, so you do not have to accept existence. Just align yourself with the knowledge that everything apparently has already existed, so it's a moot point to try and sit with what is and accept it until you feel peace. Sometimes that can be an entrance point for a few seconds or a few minutes, but then let go of that tension. It's a tense focus. It's a tight focus. You don't want to be in a tight focus. You want to be in an expansive, dreamlike, childlike state most of the time. And then include that creativity, include that joy. And again, when your attention shifts to your non-physical self more and more, starts to include and validate and appreciate your non-physical, imaginative, intuitive self. In other words, every piece of connection you have within yourself that's not obviously physically here, that not other people can see and talk about with you, but that is nevertheless the biggest part of your being. To spend more time with that, to open up to that in your everyday life. And it can coexist with the physical realm. It doesn't mean you have to withdraw and imagine and then come back to physical reality. You can have a dialogue with somebody physical and yet be focused non-physically. Be aware non-physically. Be spacious and free and creative and in the realm of infinite possibilities. Not in the realm of what has already collapsed as one tiny little, beautiful, but tiny little possibility of all that's possible. If you are in a non-physical state of consciousness, meaning you appreciate your intuition, you appreciate the things that are invisible, that state of daydreaming, basically, the state of imagination and potential, you are literally raising your frequency and you're literally affecting the energy structure that makes up your reality. Literally, this changes. Because you become more non-physical, which is a higher frequency than the physical, crystallized, limited manifestation of all that is possible. So again, if you only remain with what is, literally what you're doing is you're equating existence with just this one option out of all the infinite options. And so that's why non-dual people are really, really boring, because they don't have that imagination. Those that are stuck in this practice of be now, be here, only this is all that's happening. There's nothing happening but this. There's a book falling, there's a microphone here. This is what is. Literally what they're doing is they're completely limiting themselves, learning to an extent to tolerate things and even find peace with things. But they're limiting themselves. They're literally equating. Their vibration is putting off the following. It's saying all of existence is only this experience. It's limited to only this. No wonder They develop cancer. No wonder they develop sickness and illness and obstacles and boring lives and mediocre lives and relationships. Because there's no Jews. Creation is Jews. Creation is infinite possibilities in every moment. Recognize this. Be in that state of non-physical creative confidence. Fuck what is. Who needs what is? What is already the past. Everything you're aware of now is already the past. It's what you created out of your previous, for most people, boring ideas. Limited access to your creative non-physical self. So open up so that your future, present, now collapse of possibilities into a manifested moment can become more and more and more obviously a clear reflection of who you are as a spirit, as a soul, as a non-physical, intuitive impulse of creation, as the desire to expand. Very important. Give yourself the gift of imagination, revaluing imagination as completely valid, even more important than what is.